Hi, friend. Welcome back to the Freedom Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Sutherland, and today's episode is going to be interesting and fun. And by the way, we've done a lot of what isn't working out there, and there's a lot of stuff changing in the digital space, in the online world. But there is one constant that you might have heard of before that is only getting better. And that's what we're going to touch on today, by the way. It is YouTube. Yes, YouTube is probably the one place that I see people making money online that isn't going through a radical transformation. Well, let me rephrase that. It is going through a radical transformation to your benefit, whereas other things are going through a radical transformation that might feel a little scary or uncertain. We've talked about courses, a lot of changing and people shutting down their programs. I just recently saw a massive affiliate marketer shut his program down. And so things are definitely going through a shift. But YouTube, friends, if you're looking for a place where you can make legitimate sales passively online, this is the number one place I would tell you to put your time and energy. And we're going to dig in today to why. All right, let's go. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to this show on whatever podcast player you prefer, and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Hey friend, it's Lindsay. Pause with me for just a second. You're listening to this podcast right now, and maybe you've listened to dozens or hundreds of episodes. Maybe you've just even done all the things. You've bought the courses, bookmarked articles, joined the Facebook groups, all because you know you need reoccurring income. It's something that's been weighing on you for a while. You might have heard me talk about it, the someday dream. Well, we're going to make this the today action. It's time to get moving. And here's the thing. You've got all the information at your fingertips. And the fact of the matter is you don't need any more information. You're drowning in information. What you really are starving for is clarity. Everybody in the world is teaching you what to build. And YouTube is full of how-tos, but nobody is helping you figure out which one fits your business, your lifestyle, your actual audience. Which model makes sense for you? How do you know if people are going to pay for it? Where do you even start? Those are not questions that another podcast episode can answer. You, my friend, need clarity, and that's what I created for you. It's a free guide. It's called Earn 5K per month on repeat. 5 simple steps that help you figure out what you should build to get that reoccurring income flowing. And it's not just what everybody else is building. It's what makes sense for your business. Because here's the truth. You don't need more information. You need to see your specific path forward. That is clarity, and that's what this guide does. So text the word freedom to 55444 and I will send it straight to you. Again, that's freedom to 55444. It's time to stop listening to all the things and start building. Okay, but definitely keep listening to this one episode, shall we? The point is, the next step is waiting for you in the guide. So take action, get that guide sent to you, and let's build something together. All right, back to the episode. By the way, if you're listening to this, you're going to want to stick around to the end because I'm going to explain to you how to make your YouTube channel dang near passive. Not everything is passive fully, but this is the closest step to passive that is available. And you're going to want to hear the secret on how to do that. So stick around. Okay, first of all, let's just talk about YouTube. Many of you might have already had a YouTube channel or dabbled in YouTube, and maybe it, quote, didn't work or didn't work out the way you wanted it to. Here's what you need to know. First of all, YouTube is the king of streaming. And when I say that, I mean all streaming, okay? They outperform, as far as people listening on their platform, they outperform Netflix and every other platform that streams, period. And let me tell you something, the king wants to stay the king. Okay, that is the name of the game in the online space. Dominate attention and stay in control. Well, how do you think that YouTube's going to do that? Neil Mohan, who's the CEO of YouTube, has recently made some announcements. Now, we're going to take it with a grain of salt because everybody gets hyped up and wants to create buzz, but there are some really interesting things you need to know. So, for example, let's start off by dispelling a myth there's a myth going around that YouTube won't monetize AI content. False. They will. And in fact, they are leaning in to AI big time. They already have some free tools. If creators wanted to start a YouTube channel, they could do so within their platform, but it's only going to get better. YouTube is investing in AI. Neil is quoted in his most recent blog post. This is his quote: "Just as the synthesizer or Photoshop or CGI revolutionized sound and visuals, AI will be a boon to creators who are ready to lean in." So they're not saying AI should be your idea generator, but it can empower creators with an original idea. In fact, there is a rumor that YouTube is going to have a built-in AI avatar that you could basically dub yourself as an AI avatar to create content. Now, we're not here to debate the ethics of that or how we feel about it, however, but the fact of the matter is AI is here and it's not going away. So you have a choice. You can either lean in or don't. But those of us that are looking for an online platform to lean into, YouTube is truly where it's at. I've been doing a ton of research lately in the online space with all the changes. I saw AI was going to, obviously everybody saw, but AI was here to drastically make everything different. And it is churning. The world is churning in the online space. The scary part is, as it churns, people don't know what to turn to, right? So like, for example, I mentioned recently how courses have changed a lot, how some big creators and course teachers in the space have shut down their programs. Well, I also recently found a big name affiliate marketing guru, I suppose you'd say, also closed his program, right? So it's scary and it's scaring people like, oh golly, is that going away? Is courses going away? You start to see these big names making a big shift and it's happening in real time. The scary part is it's like, what do I do instead, right? If you're looking for something stable, YouTube is stable. YouTube they've paid out billions of dollars to creators. They built their platform. They became the king because of their creator model, okay? That is not going away. They understand that business model is what's working. They also understand how to keep that business model working into the future. But again, just like all platforms, what do they care about the most is keeping people on their platform. And so the changes that you're going to see are because it's feeding the algorithm, which is obviously driven by the consumer. So here are some of those things to keep in mind. Shorts is going up exponentially. And there's some controversy about that amongst people. In fact, I was watching Think Media podcast as he was sharing some of these changes as well. Along my research journey, I find creators who are also, researching these things. And I was reading through the comments in his video. One lady was like, because he had asked the question, what do you think about shorts? One lady, I think her comment depicts exactly why people don't love shorts necessarily, and also why shorts is going to be dominating. She said, I'll go onto YouTube to watch one of my very favorite long form creators if I'm going to clean my house or do something like that. And she says, I get sucked into these addicting YouTube shorts and it distracts me. And the next thing you know, I haven't done what I was setting out to do. And she's like, that drives me nuts. So on one hand, it shows just how consuming and addicting these shorts are. But on the other hand, that is exactly why YouTube is putting more emphasis there. That is where the future of YouTube is going to be, is these AI shorts. Excuse me, not AI shorts, but just shorts in general. They don't have to be AI. The other piece of this is auto-dubbed. So those of you, long form isn't going away, just so you know. It's just that the shorts are exponentially increasing. They're putting more energy there. Then also we've got auto-dubbed videos. So long form content can have a wider reach. What does auto-dubbed mean? Well, if you produce a video in English, you can set it up if you have a transcription where it will auto-dub it into Japanese, or Nigerian, right? So the cool part is you can create content that can be seen around the world. And therefore, again, this is why YouTube is expansive. This is why it's a good place to be, because there's growth potential here. Additionally, there are places in the world that previously did not have internet access that are getting access. We're talking Africa is a massive continent where most of the country could not access the internet. Well, thanks to Elon Musk and Starlink, that's changing. But there are places and pockets like that around the world. So again, your ability to have views around the world is expansive. There's opportunity right here in this amazing platform called YouTube. As I was creating this episode and writing my notes, I was thinking about an interesting fact. So one of the facts that I learned is that, like I said in the beginning, YouTube is the largest streaming platform in the world, right? But 50% of their viewership is coming from television sets versus mobile, which I thought was interesting, just a random side fact. But here's where my mind went, being an 80s kid. I remember coming home from school, turning the TV on and watching my favorite show. If I missed my favorite show, I had to wait till the next week, Our world has changed so drastically, but now it's flipped upside down. Rather than just being the consumer watching these TV stars on TV, we could be the TV stars. Guys, you could be the TV star. You could be known around the world from your little home, wherever it is, and your hobby farm and whatever else you have cooking in your life. I love it. I just think the world we live in is so fun. Anyhow, I'm going on a bunny trail, but that's what I do. Okay, so the point is this. YouTube is definitely a great place for you. Now, for those of you sticking around, I haven't forgot, I'm going to talk to you about how to monetize this, or excuse me, not how to monetize it, but how to make it semi-passive, mostly passive. But before I dig into that, I wanted to touch back on the 4 pillars that we've talked about. That hasn't changed. If you've started a YouTube channel before and you've had difficulty or you're not sure what to do, it could be because you're talking about too many topics. Even homesteading is too broad of a topic. Why? I homestead, so that's why I talk about hobby farms a lot, right? But I raise sheep, I raise ducks, we garden. Maybe it's about, permaculture. There's so many different topics that can be related to homesteading, composting. Now, I would say 3-5 years ago, homesteading was phenomenal. You could talk about homesteading and be on talk about it in broad. You could talk about homesteading broadly and relate to all of those topics and be successful. However, now that's a lot more challenging. It needs to be very specific. I need to just talk about my lambs, have a lamb channel. If I want to talk about my garden, then I have a garden channel, you see? So if you have had trouble in the past or you're not getting the views or subscriberships, maybe you're getting views but not subscribers, that right there tells you everything. Because what happens is, say somebody came to my video because they saw something about lambs, and then they go binge on my other content, it's about gardening, but they don't care about gardening. They're not going to subscribe, okay? But if they've got lambs and they want to learn about lambs, they'll subscribe. So that's one trick you can take to the bank. The other would be you could do some research on Claude or Gemini and have it look for underserved markets where you can be a player in this space. Obviously, you want to keep it on a topic you sort of enjoy or are interested in, something that's not going to bore you or burn you out. But, we've talked about the I'm going to just call it my rosebud methodology, my rosebush methodology. I just made that up right now. But here's the concept, and I talk about this all the time. When you buy a rosebush, I love rose bushes. I have a little rosebush garden I'm starting, and I try to plant a new rosebush every year, like a little thing I do. So when you buy a rose bush from the store, it usually has its root ball and a branch or 2, right? That's it, like a stick and a ball of roots. Once you plant it, over time, it expands, right? You get more sticks and more bushes and branches and flowers and the whole thing. Think of your online business in that same idea. When you start, you may start on YouTube. You're going to start with one branch, and it could just be, I'm just going to focus on creating content around a specific topic. Over time, as your subscribers grow, yes, your YouTube channel can be monetized. Awesome. That's one stream of income. Next, you can put in a course. You could put in a PDF. You could put in a membership community. By the way, YouTube is leaning into memberships. That's coming up too. They just want whatever is going to make it so people stay on the platform. That's where it's headed. So my point is to say, you can start to monetize your audience in other ways. And that's how you grow your rose bush. Okay. That's how it grows. All right. Now let's wrap up with how to make this semi-passive. Well, for starters, you need to know that YouTube is going to be launching creator tools that are going to make this easier, make producing content easier. They already have some cool tools. You can go check it out. But for those of you who are genuinely like, I am in this to win this, or maybe you have a full-time job and you want to build this as a passive side project to get it just going, maybe eventually replace your income, then I would consider Syllabi. Syllabi is a tool, and what it does is it builds your content, AI content. You can also build an AI avatar of yourself, and it will also publish the content. Booyah. That is how you make it semi-passive. You know, up until now, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I have to make the video, then I have to edit the video. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I've stayed in the audio format of podcasting. Well, that and I don't like to get all dolled up for the camera. So, point is, none of that matters anymore. Faceless videos are just as viewable as your face on a video. And for those of you that don't want to be on camera or don't like how you look or sound or whatever, you can use an AI version of yourself. Holy cow, the world has changed. I think that's like the theme of what's happening in our life. Anyhow, check out Syllabi. I am an affiliate. I've got the link in the description. If you are interested, it would mean the world to me if you would consider clicking on my link and supporting this channel by doing so. And it is a great tool. It starts out around $23 to $30 a month, and it can go up from there. Plus, you do get a 7-day free trial. But guys, if you really need something that is passive, you're going to get dialed in. They have also what I will tell you about Syllabi. The founder of Syllabi is Austin Armstrong, who's been on our podcast. Great dude. What I love about what he's built in his company is he has people that are willing to help you. You could book a free consult with one of his team members to help you get started and get familiar with the system. What other software platform is doing that? Most of the time you subscribe and it's like on you to figure it out. Good luck. Syllabi really genuinely wants to keep you as a consumer, as a customer, and they want to serve you. So I strongly recommend it for all of the reasons I said. Okay, now for those of you who are not already in the Freedom Online Business Builders community on Facebook, get in there, talk to me, share with me what's going on. What are you going to do on YouTube? What are your ideas? What did this podcast inspire you to do today? Just go to Facebook. You can either look me up. My handle on Facebook is called Mastermind Mama 4. It's funny. I made that years ago. But I just kept it. And then also you can join me on the Freedom Online Business Builders community. It's a Facebook group. Okay. I can't wait to meet with you and see what's happening in your world and hear what you're working on. Until next time, my friend, thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.